We're going to be looking at a seriously powerful yet surprisingly accessible tool today called Codestrike. If you've ever felt like organizing a tech event was just way out of your league, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this. We're breaking down not just the software itself, but the entire methodology behind making these events an absolute smash hit. So here's the biggest hurdle we see right out of the gate. A lot of educators, club leads, administrators, they feel completely intimidated by their own perceived lack of technical skills. Or maybe they think they need some massive budget. You know, the classic, I can't code, so how on earth can I run a hackathon? But honestly, based on the incredibly detailed execution manual from FalconsAI, that is a total myth. Seriously, you don't need to be technical, you don't need a fancy corporate sponsor, and you absolutely don't need a whole computer science department backing you up. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The hackathon myth. 2. Redefining the Build-a-Thon. 3. How Codestrike helps organizers. 4. Why Codestrike is better. And finally, 5. The human element. Let's just jump right in. All right, section 1, the hackathon myth. Let's look at the true foundation of what you're actually organizing here. Because once you grasp this, the pressure totally comes off. Here's the reality. You literally just need a room, a date, some people, and a plan. That's the whole shebang. A hackathon isn't really a coding competition at its core. It's basically just a structured excuse for people to sit down, start something, and actually finish it in one sitting. Some of the absolute best organizers out there can't write a single line of code. Why? Because the real job is logistics. It's about keeping the energy up and managing the clock, not programming. And the best part is, this plan requires zero budget and zero technical background. The code is just the visible stuff. The real output you're managing, that's confidence and collaboration. Moving on to section 2, redefining the Build-a-Thon. Let's talk about how the words we use actually matter a ton when we're trying to get people to show up. What's fascinating here is how tweaking the narrative makes these events so much more welcoming. Let's face it, the word hackathon carries some heavy baggage. It sounds super intense, highly technical, and honestly, pretty intimidating if you're a beginner. But simply calling it a Build-a-thon, that totally changes the vibe. It basically tells everyone, hey, we're just here to build something cool together. And this framing is absolutely crucial right now. Think about it. AI has completely flattened the learning curve. 10 years ago, a total beginner would need weeks to build something even mildly impressive. Today, complete novices can wire up a language model and crank out a genuinely useful working tool in a single afternoon. It's wild. But, with that insane speed comes a very specific trap. Because AI makes the first 90% so incredibly easy, teams routinely overpromise. Like, they'll get a simple text summarizer working in 20 minutes, and suddenly they're like, let's add user accounts, a massive database, and a full mobile app. And then they end up finishing absolutely nothing. So your most valuable contribution as an organizer isn't writing code for them. It's walking the room, spotting that team that looks like they're finishing early, and kindly but relentlessly asking them, okay, that's way too big. What is the absolute smallest version of that? Because in a Build-a-thon, scope is everything. All right, section 3, how Codestrike helps organizers. Let's see how the actual logistics are completely streamlined by the software we're focusing on today. And this brings us right to Codestrike. Just like the documentation proudly states, Codestrike is a hackathon in a box. It's this brilliant, self-hosted platform designed specifically to eliminate all the annoying administrative chores of running a build event. When you're the organizer, you want to be out there in the room, right? Managing the energy, ordering the pizza, helping teams narrow their scope. You definitely do not want to be stuck behind a laptop wrestling with spreadsheets or trying to figure out who emailed you a broken GitHub link at 2 in the morning. Codestrike handles all that paperwork so you can actually focus on the participants. Let's look at exactly what it takes off your plate. Codestrike handles your entire roster. You can add people one by one or just bulk import a whole class list in seconds. It features a master countdown timer that's enforced server-side, so nope, a student can't just change the clock on their laptop to squeeze in a few extra minutes. It also handles project submissions flawlessly, blocks any duplicate entries, and at the end of the day, hands your judges a perfectly clean, pristine list of projects. Oh, and it automatically generates a live public leaderboard to keep the competitive energy pumping. But hey, there are a dozen websites out there that claim to do this, so why use this one? That brings us to section 4, why Codestrike is better. Let's explore why its architecture is just superior for educational environments. Standard hackathon SaaS platforms are frankly pretty heavy. They rely on cloud databases, they're always trying to upsell you to some premium paid tier, and they're constantly pinging third-party APIs in the background. Codestrike is the exact opposite. It runs as a single Docker container, You don't need a database whatsoever. It stores everything in plain JSON text files right there on your disk. The whole thing requires just 200 megabytes of space. There is no paid tier, and this is a real game changer. It can run fully offline on an air-gapped machine. You could literally just export the container to a USB drive and walk it into the room. Which leads us to this absolutely beautiful number, 0. Now, this isn't just some neat technical quirk. This is a massive feature, especially for schools and universities. Codestrike makes 0 outbound network requests. It sends absolutely 0 student data to third parties. I mean, let that sink in for a second. The privacy guarantee here is absolute. No analytics, no crash reporting, no sneaky advertising pixels, no content delivery networks, not even web fonts. It's 100% self-contained. The documentation actually challenges you to test this out yourself. You can pop open your browser's network tab and verify that every single request stays completely local on your own host. In an era where student data privacy compliance is basically a daily nightmare for educators, Codestrike just completely sidesteps the problem by simply not sending data anywhere. Period. Finally, Section 5, the human element. Because as incredibly smart as Codestrike is, it's what the platform deliberately leaves out that really protects the true spirit of these events. You'll notice Codestrike features absolutely no automated AI judging or code evaluation. None at all. And that is 100% by design. Look, if the real goal of a Build-a-Thon is building confidence, fostering collaboration, and creating a finished thing that someone can proudly point at, you just can't outsource the validation of that to an algorithm. Human judges are absolutely essential. Only a real human can look at a project and evaluate its practical impact, the team's genuine innovation, and, the actual passion in their presentation. So the platform deliberately stays out of the way and lets humans do what humans do best. Your judges evaluate the projects based on whatever custom criteria you set. Things like technical implementation, completeness, presentation style, and they score them out of 100. Then, as the organizer, you literally just pop those scores into the Codestrike's admin console. The second you hit save, Codestrike does all the math behind the scenes, resolves the rankings, and instantly publishes that live leaderboard to the room. It's basically the perfect marriage of human judgment and digital efficiency. Which really leaves us with the most exciting question of all. What will your teams actually build? Now that you see how the logistics are totally solved by a simple self-hosted container, how the privacy of your students is mathematically guaranteed, and how the technical barriers to organizing are just gone, there are really no excuses left. Remember, you just need a room, a date, some people, and this plan. The only thing left on your to-do list is to gather your group. So ask yourself, if the technical hurdles are completely out of the picture, what world-changing ideas are your students just waiting to build?